Hi everyone, this is Renee Francis with A Matter of Perception. In this video, at a request of some group of astrologers doing some forensic astrology, we are taking a look at Ayla Bell Reynolds, the little sweetheart who's been missing way too long now out of Waterville, Maine. Anyway, want to take it out of her own bedroom. So anyway, at our page, you're going to see that we have erected one of our interactive maps. And if you're not familiar what we do here at A Matter of Perception, we use the stars to find the missing. And now we are actually using the stars to find assailants as well, because we all have our own geometric affinity to the space around us, and we're seeing that not only are these charts actually giving us directions for whereabouts and remains recovery, but we can actually look for our assailants as well. Anyway, as you already know, we are doing a 100 case study that we are sharing publicly. Right now there are, I think, 43 of the 100 up there, and we have all the cases. It's just a matter of doing the illustrations, having the time to get it up here. But I think what we're going to do is once we get to the 50 mark, we're going to try to get a little video together and actually go back and do a little story about how the whole work started. It's been going on for a good 30 years already. And anyway, this is a young lady, Anna DeFries, that we just added from This is what's happening is we have all the cases that of our 100, but you know, every day there's a new case, and so our 100 case study is actually going to span, from the late, I think, 1960s all the way up into the present. So this is something that you could keep on coming back to, and you know, and follow us and follow the study. So what we're doing here is we are using the stars to find the missing. We are measuring the point of abduction to the point of recovery from a disappearance chart, and we are also now adding in the point of abduction to point of recovery as we see it happening in the victim's birth chart as well. So just to give you a little example, okay, let's go and get our little highlighter, okay. So anyway, Eliana, she disappeared on the 20th. They don't have school buses in Cleveland. She had to take public transportation to get to school, and she wound up getting picked up by a registered sex offender, Christopher Walker, okay? They found her in an abandoned home. And anyway, she left for school here, found here. No, she was last seen on surveillance footage here and found here. Okay, so she was found on a, she was found on a true north vector bearing of 290 degrees, which is 20 degrees Capricorn. The moon at the time was 19 and Pluto 17 degrees of Capricorn. So this aspect conjoined, whatever you want to use, this point, okay? It was 2.2 miles, and Jupiter was 22 degrees. So what's happening here is, I know you're going to say, oh, well, you know, are we stretching it? No, we're not stretching it, and here's why. What happens is you know that as astrologers, and if you are not an astrologer, okay, we measure the planets in their total degrees of longitude, okay, which is the whole 360 degrees, and we also measure them in their degree that they are in their respective sign signatures, okay? So we can only, 12 signs, each get 30 degrees, represent the 360 degree circle. So none of these planets are ever going to be more than 30 degrees, but we know that somebody can abduct somebody and bring them more than 30 miles, okay? So we use celestial longitude to draw out the distances, the directions and vector bearings, which we are actually, by doing this, we are narrowing down the 360 degrees directions in which somebody can forward. So in here, so how do I get how do I get, if I have all these planets late degrees, and I know, okay, from a 600 study across 44 states, abducted children are typically found a quarter mile from where they were last seen within 3 hours. How do I look at this chart and say, well, gee, I don't really have a mile here? The only way I get that is if I throw in a decimal point in between any of these, and I can get a 1 point. I can get 1 mile here from Neptune, 1.0, okay? I can get 1.7, 1.9, 1.3. I can get 6 miles, or I can get 0.6, okay? So that's what we're learning to do now, is we are actually, so, there's 10 planets, 10 measurements, but we're breaking them down even further by, getting us closer, and it's working, okay? So here you had Jupiter 22, and she's found 2.2 miles, okay, in this direction. Same thing with her birth chart. There's something else that I wanted to bring up. Now, I don't have to use this one as an example, but say if we were looking for her, say if we didn't know where she was, okay? If we were going to work on this case from scratch, okay? All right, so we would do a pattern for here, okay? So I know that these two planets are opposing, and I know that they have their square end. What's the other square end going this way to make this a square, okay? So I have to have these points. Whenever you see that we're finishing the aspect, the geometry of the pattern, we're using the dotted lines, okay? But another thing I want to show you is, as astrologers, you need to throw your orb of influence away from what you've been taught, because it doesn't apply here. We found that, I have to go wide with my orbits of influence here if I'm going to do the right thing by erecting these maps on behalf of these children. Here everything's really, really tight. There isn't anything wide, so I can't actually even use an example here of what's happening. But let's go back to the birth chart, okay? So this is her birth chart, okay? Now, she was found, taken here, okay? Last seen here, found here on the 290. Same vector bearing, okay? But only now we're applying her birth chart, okay? So in her birth chart, all right, in her birth chart, what she has, all this Cancer. She's found on the other end of it, okay? The Capricorn, she's found on the other end of this. But if we didn't know where she was, and if we didn't know that, if we were going to work on this case from scratch, and she hasn't been found yet, and I saw this stellium here, even though this is 8 and 9 and 18 and 27, this is wide. This Jupiter, we know, is conjunct Venus, but it's wide, and this moon here, even though we don't really know, I don't know her time of birth, but all I know is at sunrise it's here. But I'm not going to dismiss it, because I know it's only going to move 13 degrees for the whole day. So I have to draw the 4 vector bearings out for this, okay? Which would all be here, and then I got to draw them out for the other end of it, which would be all this, okay? And she was discovered in here. Now, I'm not done until I square that off, which is this way, okay? Because this is the frustrating part of this work, is that 8 out of 10 times that I do this, in 8 cases out of 10 cases, these children are going to fall directly conjoined a vector bearing that is being measured by one of the planets. But there's going to be those 2 times out of 10 when they're found on the finishing points that finish that pattern. That was the missing piece. For 10 years, okay, I've been doing this work started 30 years ago, 25 years ago, it got down to using the charts with maps. 10 years ago, I had to send the work to an expert who knew something about the stars and who knew something about cartography. And I sent him 10 cases. And I wanted somebody 10 times smarter than me to tell me why this couldn't work and what was I missing. And I got my answer. To make it predictable, and was to find the pattern. And 2 years ago, we actually found the pattern. And the pattern is finishing. Actually, this finishing the pattern was discovered by my student, my beautiful niece, who is my partner here at AMAP. She is the one that discovered that the predictability was going to be in finishing the aspect. Okay, it was genius. And so from there moving forward, we are confident that in any map that we erect, if we cover our bases and cover every aspect that that chart is making, and we are working with a good chart, that our maps are not going to be wrong. And if they are applied and used alongside investigative procedures, they are going to help you direct your searches and find your missing. That I feel very strongly about. So when we wreck these maps, like for instance, this map for Ayla Bell Reynolds, it pretty much took most of a week's amount of work full time to do this. We get lots of requests of people asking us, what about this case? What about this case? And it's getting to the point that I just can't do them unless the map is going to go into the hands of somebody that's actually going to be on the ground and searching. And that's law enforcement, and that's search and rescue, and that's family who is actually going out and doing the searches. Just to sit here and do them just because folks have an interest in how our work will apply towards their case. It's getting, I have to apologize that it took me this long to actually get all this work done, but there was current cases happening, and search and rescue groups that we've been working with that, just had to get our attention first. So let's go ahead and finish looking at Ayla Bell, okay? I think I read some things about her being possibly, handed off, the mother taking her, and maybe, sold for money. I don't think that happened. I think this child is expired, and I'll tell you why. And I could be wrong, but this is my interpretation, and I think that what we're doing here is looking for a child that is deceased. Okay, I do not like this at all. Okay, the Moon and Mars conjunct at the time this kid disappears is right on her ascendant. This Virgo Mars is telling me, this is giving me an upset stomach. I think she was sick. Okay, I think the reason why she got to the point of being dead was because she was sick and she got hit. I don't like that. Also, that the sun here, okay, is on her moon. Okay, it's 3 degrees away, but it's right there. I mean, it's an influence. Okay, the 2 lights for me in a chart are the ones that are going to tell you whether or not that they're expired. So we had here. Her moon at birth is disassociated conjunction here with Pluto, so this indicates to me a short-lived life. Her sun is just making a bunch of annoying little aspects. However, at the time, her progressed moon 3 months ago was hitting here. So this poor little girl's life probably for 3 months was like really unstable, I want to say. What else did I see here that I did not like as far as having this child be still with us? What did I see? Oh, well, here, okay, her Pluto is here, is trying all this. Okay, so this little, I just kind of feel like this little princess didn't have a shot in hell, really, actually, tell you the truth, with the people that she was surrounded with. Okay, I don't like the fact that Saturn's rising at the ascendant for her in the first house. Seems to me like that most often that she would probably be seen as a burden to folks, or that this would be her interpretation. Like I don't see people around her that had patience to have a baby. That's what I get with Saturn in there, and being part of this disassociated Moon Pluto conjunction. I mean, it's funny, right? She was disconnected with her mom, and this is disconnected, and her death happens while she's disconnected with her mother. So I don't know. I don't think you're looking for a baby that was passed on to somebody else for money. That's just not what I see. Could I be wrong? Of course I could be wrong, but that's not what I get. Anyway, so moving forward, my whole thing here is going to be expired baby. That's my little bird in the background. She seems to be wanting to talk to me, say something. Anyway, these are all the patterns that are in the map that I drew out for her. Okay, these are all the measurements that I drew out for her birth. She had her. This is really something here, that her Mars is exactly square to her Mercury. Okay, this is family. This is violence from somebody in the family. Okay, and not only that, but her Mars at 3 degrees and 44 minutes is actually 3 and 4. That's the date of birth for one of the persons of interest. So I found that interesting. Okay, the fact that her progressed sun, which is the male figure in her life, has progressed to be 16 degrees, and although she was reported disappeared, she was reported missing on the 17th. The 16th seems to be when something probably terrible happened. Anyway, this is the call, 8:51. That she's gone. Okay, and just from this alone, I don't like the fact this to me right here. Okay, this is the way I call it when I see it. If he called the police at that time, okay, these are 2 things that I'm looking at. I want to know everything that's here. Okay, so I got Venus rising and square to here. Something was already done. It was finished. The fact that we have the moon and Mars in the 8th house of death, she's already expired. She's already gone, and she was already put where she was going to be. Okay, well, we're already secured where she was going to be with that. To me, anyway, from what I get from that. Okay, but anyway, these are all the planetary patterns that we drew out in her map. These again are the measurements. I didn't see anything. I didn't look hard enough, I don't think, to match up any of these numbers with parallels of numerics existing in the case. Anyway, here's my little interpretation of the chart when she was put to bed at 10 o'clock. Okay, to me as an astrologer, really, this in the 1st house, a little too much energy going on for me for things to look like they're settling down. The fact that Uranus is right here in the 8th house and it's trine here, this just tells me, that there was some kind of accident and it was sudden and it was unexpected. But at the same time, because of this, it was heated anger. Okay. From what I'm getting, and I've been playing around with some of the things coming out of Ayla Bell Reynolds' name and your person of interest's name, and it just seems to me that this child got sick and it wasn't handled in the right way, and out of a heated moment of anger, I think he either threw something at her, hit her in anger, and caused her death. I'm going to say that I do think that she died from your person of interest, at the hand of your person of interest. Let me get rid of that. Okay, again, this is father calling the police. Wait a minute. Okay, 8:51, right? Why do I have 2 of those there like that? Okay, I think when April helped me pull this map together, we had 8:51, just 2 minutes off here. Okay. So this is just me interpreting this again. I already went through that. I just think that, this is a lie. This is all happening. That call is just a ruse. Okay, so here's your person of interest's patterns. And I actually rectified his chart. I gave him 22 degrees Leo rising, because that would put his moon at 14 degrees for the day. And that 14 degrees would make his total longitude of his moon 044, which would be a latest date of birth. This is sometimes how I re-erect charts, and I'm very, very close to nailing them when I do it this way. Anyway, but I did not give, and I gave him ascendants in here. So, which was important to me, because now let's go to the map. Okay, I'm going to go to her. Ginger, quiet, sweetheart. Okay, so here's the map, and I suggest that you do look at this in a tablet or a laptop. But I also added a compass so you actually can see the vector bearings being driven. Now, let me say this. Our folders, everything needs to be looked at one by one, okay? I personally, to me, you can turn this compass on, turn it off. Personally, to me, because Ayla was only a resident of that house for a few days, and this was not her main residence. I'm not going to say don't look at this one, but I'm not so sure it's going to be as strong as your person of interest, okay, and your 911 call. I believe that these two are your centers for finding her, okay? And that's because, of course, Ayla, her chart is she hasn't lived there long enough. She was only there for, I think, a few days before this whole event happened to her. So I'm not saying that this chart won't work. It could help confirm what is being directed in the 911 call and the person of interest, okay? Anyway, so let's look at this separately one by one, okay? I'm going to turn this off. Ginger, please. All right, we're going to look at this one by one. Okay, so here's all your radiuses, which there are a lot. I extended this out 34 miles, and it was, I think, the sum of the moon with one of the other planets, okay? So here's your 39 miles. Come on. Okay, here's your 39 miles. Sorry about that. Is that 30? And then here's 28. Here's 25. Turn them on one by one, what you know about the area. Okay, I went out 4, 6, and 15 miles because I noted some of these locations. There was something found. There was a fitness center. Okay, they found some things, and the Comfort Inn. Okay, so we see that these are actually on some of the lines that have to do with what's turned on here, the Sun-Jupiter sextile. Okay, so sometimes I'd have to go, so what do I have on here? Hold on. I'm doing this off the cuff, so just bear with me. So this is his, where's the planetary patterns for the, okay, so we had a Sun, Jupiter, Saturn, Neptune sextile, right? Okay, so that is that. This is this one turned on, okay? So those items in this location folder are falling on that pattern, okay? So what's falling on the Sun, Moon, Mars square? That's the Sun, Moon, Mars square, okay? Moon, Mars. Don't you get a feeling of mom doing something, right? Not mom, but, you know, your person of interest is a mom if she was handed off, okay? Maybe this direction would say which way she would have gone, okay? I seem to be bothered by this, okay? I'm going to show you this in a minute. See this root 3 right here and this 32? Well, let me show you this. Hold on. Come on, where is it? Really? I saw it earlier. Now I don't see it. Come on. No, bear with me for a minute. Oh my God. I feel like somebody's playing a joke on me. Really? Here it is right here. Okay. Do you see this? This is your person of interest matriarch. Okay. The progressed Saturn, okay, is 332. Okay. Her Saturn in Aquarius is 28 degrees, and it is possibly square to her moon. Something a burden, something to have to do with a child. Okay. This number is bothering me when I see that there are lines pulling out to an area that has a root 32 and a root 3. Those are those numbers. Okay. Now let me show you something here. Okay. This is the case of Sara Ann Wood. Okay, this is the giant behind this work. Okay, Sara Ann Wood is the case that started me on this path. Okay, she's the case that started me using charts against maps when she disappeared back in 1991. Okay, it was the first case that I actually used a chart against a map and accurately pinpointed the area, which was over 110 miles away driving, but only 52 miles away direct. Okay, and I'm actually pulling this case together because Louis Lent is connected to these two murders as well, and they still not have found Sara. They still not have found Jamie, but they have found Jimmy Bernardo. So this work here is going to be an effort to actually show how maybe we might, there sometimes, you know, the cops come in and they open these cold cases, and I did work with the FBI for a little bit on this case, but they never found her. State of New York spent over $10 million looking for her, but they haven't found her. But that's not the point I want to make. I want to get down here and I want to show you something else. Okay, here's Sara Ann Wood. Okay, when she disappeared on August 18th at 2:30 p.m., okay, the planets Uranus and Neptune were 18 degrees Capricorn, both of them measuring 288 total degrees of longitude, okay? Now, remember that number, 288, okay? This is at the time she disappeared. These two planets, 18 degrees Capricorn, are measuring 288, okay? When we come down to her birth, okay, Sara Ann Wood disappeared at 2:30 in the afternoon. There are two planets when she was born, okay, at this time. Her Mercury is measuring 20 degrees Aquarius, and her Pluto is measuring 23 degrees Libra. That's two planets in totally two different sign signatures at two totally different degrees, both of them measuring these numbers, 320 and 203. She disappeared at 2:30 in the afternoon. Out of the 24 hours out of the day that she could have been abducted, she's abducted at a time that is in accordance with two planets in her birth chart, okay? She's abducted on August 18th. She's abducted on a date, 365 days out of the year that she could have been abducted. She's abducted on a date that is in accordance with the two planets that are measuring in her birth chart, okay? So let's go back up here, 288. When we go to her map, okay, Louis Lent, when he was caught, Louis Lent was caught 4 months after he abducted Sara and took her into the Adirondacks. He was caught 4 months later trying to abduct little Rebecca Savasi out of Vermont. And she got away from him. She slipped out of her backpack and got away from him. And he was caught. And when he was caught, he confessed to murdering Sara and leaving her up in the Adirondacks. He told police that he used Route 8, to 28. He used Route 8 to 28 to get up here into the Adirondacks. He drew them a crude map, okay? He used Route 8 to 28. That's what he told the feds. That's what sent the feds up here looking for Sara to the same spot I said she was 4 months earlier. And it's a good thing that I went over to the prosecutor's office where I used to work, and I had actually asked one of the detectives that I worked with to let me use their name and their phone number so that I could get the police to listen about why I thought she was there. And so anyway, I did work with the feds on this for a little bit, but they never found her. And Sara's still missing. Sara's still the giant behind this work, and it's because of her that it started. And it's because of her that it's driven to get this work into the hands of the people who can do the most with it. And that's law enforcement, and that is search and rescue groups. And that's the goal. The goal is to, although I did present this research in 1998, I went to one of the AFA's conventions in Florida, and I presented the research to my peers, and it was nice to get all their feedback. But my interest really in this work is not really to be presenting it to other astrologers as it is to get it in the hands of law enforcement. That's where it needs to be. That's where it's going to be the most good. Okay, so let's go back to Ayla's map. All right, so anyway, this area down here is bothering me. I think I hot-spotted it. Let's see. Yeah, I got some hot spots down here. Okay, so these would be one of the places where I would look first. You know, like I said, this map has to be used along with what you know about the people involved, where they work, who they know. People are going to covet what they know. I know right now that, you know, if something happened, if I murdered somebody and it was an accident and I didn't want to go to jail for it, I live here in Ohio. I probably have a couple of little ideas in the back of my head where I might go place somebody, because I feel familiar that when I go there, there's not going to be anybody there. I'm going to be familiar and comfortable with the area. Same thing with people. Wherever they put her somewhere that they feel comfortable with. Anyway, so that's it. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 patterns that I drew out here for the 911 call. Okay, so, and you have your radiuses for distance. So here is the Sun-Jupiter sextile, which is also going through this. A finishing point is also going through this area. The Sun-Uranus square, which is important, okay? We're still down here into this, you know, next to this 32 somewhere. Now you have to remember, if you look at the 100 case study, you're going to see that these children are just off the line a little bit. Some of them are dead on, some of them are 1 degree off, some of them are 2 degree off. Okay, here she is, what? She's off by 7 degrees. Okay, so when I tell you about your orb, this one is 14. She is off by 3 degrees to Venus, 1 degree from the moon. Okay, so when you're using her map, she was right on it by 1 degree. Okay, moon was 23 degrees, 25, so I'm sorry, 2 degrees. So when you're working with this map, you want to look on either side of these, okay? I'm not telling you that she's exactly going to be on this line. She's going to be near to this line. She's going to be near to one of the radiuses. And so you have to turn them on and you have to turn them off one by one. If you turn these all on, you are just going to be overwhelmed. And you're going to say, well, of course, she can be anywhere. Of course. Well, this is what I'm telling you. She's going to be on one of these patterns, okay? Even if you add up if you take the 360 degrees and you add all the lines that are in each one of these and minus them against the 360, it's still narrowing down the possibilities. So that's what you want to do. You don't want to have them all on. You do not want to. I did a semi-sextile. Now this is something that I have not done before, and I did this because of the Mercury-Pluto semi-sextile. And I said to myself, you know what? That 911 call, Mercury, the movement, and Pluto, the corpse, and semi-sextile, I said, I do not want to not look at this one. So I actually drew out a semi-sextile in here, which is covering a line going through each one of the signs. Okay? So this sextile, you know, this would be semi-sextile this point would be semi-sextile to this point. So there's your Mercury and your Pluto. Okay, something just told me to do it, and then here you go. What's target on there? What's you got? Is this where they found stuff on this sextile? So, you know, I don't know. After all this time, such a little sweet little toddler, you know, I like to cross my fingers and pray for the best and say that, you know, she can be found. But so much time has gone by. So this probably right here is a little scary to look at, is the semi-sextile, because, you know, I covered every one of the signs at that degree. Which was, well, what was that degree? Hold on. Let me look at that. All right, Jen. 1 minute, honey. This is the call, right? Yeah, this is pretty close. This is 4 and 6. Okay? This is 4 and 6. So what if we did 4 and 6? We put 4 and 6 together and we went 10 miles. All right, let me go back here. I got one for 10 miles, right? I have 15 and 6. So what if I turned on 15? So here's 15. Oh, come on. Here's 15 and here's 6. So what if we actually had one, we drew one out 10 here. Let's see. Hold on for a second. She might have one at 10. I'll turn it on. Here, she's got 11 on. All right, so I got here you'd be at 11 right in this area right here. Okay, so sometimes when I'm working on this and I see that, okay, in her birth chart I have all these, and then, you know, so what I'm saying to you also is look at the 911. Okay, look at the 911. Get used to every one of these. Okay, look at them one by one. You have to make love to this map. And look at them one by one. What do you know about the area? What do you know about the people involved? Cell phone pings, where they worked, where they had other relatives and folks living. And then after you get familiar with them, then you can start turning them on together. Okay. And here's your, like I said, Ayla Reynolds, her map here. Ginger, please stop. Her map will confirm, I believe. But I think you want to be with a 911 call, and you want to be with the person of interest, okay? Because he lives there at this residence, and we've seen that assailants, where they live and where they put remains, there's a parallel there. So you can, I think you'd be able to trust this one to give you some goodies, okay? So let's see what we got with this guy. Let's see what we got. So what if I went, hold on. What if I went that 9, remember I said about that 10 miles out with that Pluto sextile? So let's turn that on. Let's shut this off, this off, this off. You can do them yourself. Okay, so say if we went the 8, 9, 13. Let's shut off 14. And I went out 46 miles with him. I went out the whole 46. Okay, so here again, our measurements are getting us down in that area. So we have 8, we have 9, we have 13. So we're right down in this area with that 32 and root 3. Look at this line. This is his ascendant in that Leo, which bugs me. Okay. All right, so I have 2 of them on. So this is his ascendant Saturn trine. Now remember, I don't know if this is his ascendant. This is me rectifying his chart based on his moon being at 14 degrees Taurus, which would be Layla's birthday. Okay, I've used this technique in the past to get in closer to a time of birth for victims, and it works. Okay, so I'm just reversing, not reversing, I'm just using it in a place of, a perpetrator here. All right, so that is his ascendant, which is going down to this 3 and 32, okay? And here is it, he would have that ascendant moon square, which is pulling back down here in this area. Now another thing is, let me just go back here. I know this is running a little long. Where's Ayla? Where's that sweetheart? Okay, so look at this. So this is her birth chart. Look, she's got this Pluto and stuff down here and this heading down in this direction. Okay, so like if we were gonna, this is the old way I used to do it, folks. I used to take these charts. Here, let me show you this. I used to take these charts. Where is my argument? This is a paper I actually wrote while I was getting my degree. When I was getting my degree, I had asked my instructors if I would be okay with them writing papers on the work that I've been doing on this missing children, so that I had documents that I could send off to, officials. And I always wanted to be part of this 600 study that was conducted by the Justice Department. They got 44 states, 600 cases, okay? Anyway, what was I going to show you? Yeah, this is the old way, okay? I used to do a Delorme map. I had the terrain software. All these images in this document on our site are going to be changed so that they're much better. This is just a translation from, the paper that I wrote. I used to cut the charts out and put them on there on the wheel. I used to cut them out, put them on top of the map, and draw the vector bearings with my pilot's plotter. It was earlier in my life. I was at the time dating a pilot who built his own plane, and he actually said, he goes, I think you need one of these, and he gave me this beautiful little pilot's plotter, and it's got a compass on it. And pilots need this when they look at their maps in order to get them out of one airport and into another airport. I'm not sure if you know this, but all airports and their runways run on vector bearings, on compass bearing. Okay, they got to set their course. If you want to fly out of this airport and land in that airport, you got to set your compass bearing, your vector bearing. Okay, and for that airport. And anyway, so I was drawing out vector bearings, with on top of charts with a pilot's plotter. And anyway, that's what's, this is Pollyanna class, okay? She was here right with Saturn. So what was the frustrating part is when I wound up sending 10 cases to a expert on, he was part of the Mars mission team, and he was also a cartographer, and I found him because I read an article that he wrote, and I was like, you know what, this is the man I need to talk to. He knows about mapping, he knows about the planets, and I want this man who is 10 times smarter than me to tell me why this couldn't work. Why couldn't a chart over a map tell me where these children are? And anyway, so we had some correspondence back and forth, and he is the one about 10 years ago that actually inspired me to continue to move forward and to find the predictability on using this technique. So I owe it to Mr. Toron. But anyway, that was what we were doing. So we've gone from there to here, and now with the advent of social media and the internet, I can get you, one of our maps in your hands in a matter of minutes, as quickly as I can erect them. And again, okay, so now we're looking at him. So start looking at him one by one. What do you know about him? Where did he work? Where would he have gone? I'm not so sure maybe that he's the one that did this. I'm not so sure that he's the one that maybe put her somewhere. But look at here. What was found there? I don't know. Maybe he did. I'm not sure. I don't know that much about it. When I work on a case, I try not to read too much about it because I'd like the stars to talk to me. I like it to tell me what it wants to tell me, and I don't like to have so many outside influences. Okay, but go ahead and look at this guy's, vector bearings. What do you know about him? Where did he work? I bet you from his residence, and all these lines are his. This is his relationship to the space around him. Sun, Moon, sextile, again, going out here. Moon, Mars, Venus. Mars, Neptune trine, where he would hide somebody. Still coming over here to this area. I don't know what they found here. I think I just remember reading something about it, so I put a marker in there. Saturn, Uranus conjunction. All right, we're getting to 42 minutes here. I'm sure you're probably sick of listening to me. But anyway, there's your map. I hope it helps in your efforts to do your work on this case. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'm sorry it took so long to finish this, but again, the most important part of my work right now and to me is getting our maps in the hands of current cases where there's actual searches being done, and where our maps can do the most good. We are like on a backlog 2 to 3 months out on doing cases, pro bono, that are coming in by requests, but it's gotten to the point that with the criteria we have now had to put in place is that if you do request a case, it has to be in the hands of somebody that's actually doing the search, and otherwise the work and time that goes into erecting them is too valuable, and we have to see where we can be best served. So there's a lot of cases at the present that we are working on that are private. It's little by little we're getting police to say, hey, this is fantastic. We are still, sending our maps to police on new cases. Sometimes we get a call back. Sometimes we hear nothing. But remember, our goal is to get our maps in the hands of search and rescue groups and law enforcement, because those are the folks that can do the most with our work. We are trying to get our work to be standard arsenal that, when a child disappears right away, we're narrowing down the possibilities. When you look at the case study and you're looking at all these cases, the kids are turning up on the direction of these planets, and they're turning up on the finishing points. So it's important. It has value, and when you write to us and you ask us to help you with your case, it means the world to us because you are supporting what we do. You're believing what we do, and little by little, hopefully it'll be in the mainstream, and that's what we are headed towards. We would love to get the nonprofit status so that we can work on as many cases as we can full time. Right now, I work for myself in my own video editing business, and my partner and I, we incur the cost on the web hosting. We incur the cost of the scribble maps to keep those maps up and live for search groups, and we need the support. So I'll leave it there. And again, thank you for supporting our work. And let's hope at some point that maybe our map on behalf of Ayla Bell Reynolds will prove valuable. So that's it. Thank you. And God bless.